Go into your room, that's right. Sit on that fat of yours and do nothing but listen to records.
High End Munich 2022 is running. 2 years off and we're back. So let's go in and get our badges and get started. I'm wearing a mask, so if I sound kind of muffled, and I'm wearing a mask not because I'm worried about really getting COVID. If I get it, I get it. I'm worried about getting stuck here. Sometimes you have to see the pros early.
Hey, how are you, Michael?
I'm still here. You know,
Good.
I'm wearing a mask only because I don't want to get stuck here for 10 days at the end of the show.
Right.
I'm not worried about getting COVID again.
Right.
I had it once already.
Munich's a nice place.
I love it. Yeah, it's a nice place. I just want to go home.
I know.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take it off. What do you think? You think I should take it off or leave it on?
Take it off.
Yeah.
Really?
'Cause I had COVID in the UK a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you
I
did?
had the worst kind. I had COVID MQA. You
Really?
get COVID and then it unfolds diphtheria and Peyronie's disease in your body.
What?
It's a joke.
No. Okay.
This is a cute little movie.
Thank you. Well, our distributor is not showing.
Oh.
So it's a trend. You know, our owner and Brandon and I just had to come and meet our distributors.
Yeah.
So we just did this passively, and we have the I-50, and then it's a chance to show the debut what will be the next big amplifier, reference 320M.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes. And we thought we'd do it in different colors. White is very popular in Europe, particularly Germany. And so we did it all in-house. We Cerakoted.
It's really beautiful.
Ceramic finish, thank you.
And what is this going to retail for in America?
This is, we don't know, TBA.
Yeah.
It'll be out late this year. But everyone's been waiting for this, and we want to show the arms showing the making progress.
Great. This is the kind of thing where if it wasn't an individual who owned the company,
Right.
you probably wouldn't be here like this.
No.
When an individual owns a company, he
Right.
says, I want to do something because I own it, I'm going to do
Right.
it. Yeah,
Right.
that's how it works.
Yeah, right. So there are three of us, and that's it. And then there's another room upstairs that's using our equipment. Actually, it's the WADX room.
Oh.
They have the big WADX system
Right.
with reference 6 SE, 2 pairs of reference 160 monoblocks, and a pair of the Wilson-Benesch Eminence speakers.
I'll check that
Those
out.
things are amazing.
Yeah, those are nice.
So it's a great sounding system. So
Okay, cool. It's great to see you. You're looking
you
good.
too. Thank you.
Right, now we're where we belong. Ah, this is brand new. This is the Metallica turntable. That's pretty snazzy looking, you gotta say. This is another design concept, the RPM 12.
We are presenting this year at MOC also Bob Graham, all the new 3 tonearms, 9, 10 and 12 inch. Pro-Ject Audio took over the production and
Production too.
not the production. So Mr. Graham is producing still himself, but also some parts we produce for him. And so this way we are supporting him that he can produce faster and he can deliver faster. And we have Pro-Ject Audio has through audio tuning we have the distribution for the entire Europe. So
This is really good news.
yes,
Really good news.
because the products of Mr. Graham are exceptional.
Yes.
He is absolutely the biggest detailist, may I say this? And but always there was always problem with deliveries, and so even we are at home playing in our reference system always with the Graham.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
So
You've divulged the truth.
yes.
Okay, So there's three arm tubes.
Yes, 3 arm tubes. We have an Elite, and then we have still also the old version. So
Right.
he doesn't have a big range, but everything is all inside his nose. It's absolutely perfectly made. Yeah.
Yes, you can't make them fast enough. So now you're going to be able to help. You're facilitating his ability to produce arms.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was. I wonder. Well, there's a belt there. So.
Yeah, but this is the drive.
I see. So this is the belt version, and that's the direct drive. What are you projecting the price of this will be?
7.
The thing in there.
At the moment, actually, everything what we could produce would go to America.
Yeah.
But I can't, because I have to satisfy also my European customers.
It's a good problem to have, right?
Oh yeah,
It's a great problem.
Yeah. And the good thing is that we have seen also by the Corona, we have seen the customer has a little bit more time,
Yes.
so they go a little bit deeper in searching what they buy. So we have seen that the average price was way up.
Yeah.
Way up. Yeah.
And once they get into the thing, then they want to keep getting better and better.
By the way, that what would interesting me, that we should make, because now the interest in upgrade and everything is so high, that we should really make maybe not a review, something like giving better understanding, what the clamp does, what the
Yes.
record book does,
Yes.
what a better power supply does, We have all these accessories, what the mat does,
A path
a path up,
That's right.
So because what we also realized, which is actually a huge message, which is one central message here on the show, we wanted to make the turntable industry balanced as a standard. Because we realized, once you do moving coil cartridge with the true balanced turntable, with the balanced phono stage, your noise level, your hum level goes so
Right.
way
You get
down.
all the hum.
And the good thing is, every debut is correctly balanced cables. So we have plus and minus, this grade minus from the chassis ground. Put even on the RCAs. That means if you put an RCA adapter to XLR and using an XLR phono stage, a debut can be balanced.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
so that means all these customers, if they buy an MC cartridge from Ortofon, you get something for $200-300,
Yep.
The phono stage, we have introduced now a balanced phono stage for €400, so something like $450,
Right.
So that means for a very low price, we can give the customer now balanced technology.
That's great.
And that's a big difference, and that we feature this year, and all here in the booth, it's all about balanced, in every price range.
Good.
So that's, I think, very important, and actually we want to, we want that the whole industry is doing this, because it gives so much more performance to the.
And it's mostly about getting rid of noise. It doesn't make the signal that much better.
No, it doesn't make the signal, but the signal is degraded always by noise.
Right.
But also by the effect that you have to use moving coil, because MM you cannot use because MM has a ground.
Common ground.
Common ground,
Right.
because of the chassis itself.
Right.
So also by the effect that you have to use an MC cartridge, that you have to use a better phono stage,
Right.
you're getting also.
So you're automatically moving up. You're forcing people to move up.
Yes.
But then once they hear it, once they get what it does,
And it does a lot.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a nice article when you can write about this.
I just wrote a column about standardization, that we need to standardize certain things. You know what else I'd like to see standardized? I'd like to see on the better arms, the queuing lift, rather than a single grub screw, it should be on a worm drive, so you could turn a little thing and it would go up and it would go down. Because the way it is now, you loosen the grub screw and the thing falls, and then that would be a nice thing to.
Yeah.
Let's do that again. All right, so this is a brand new MC Diamond cartridge that you're showing.
This is our new cartridge, yes, showing now for the first time at this show. So it is you could say it is a improved version of the MC and a diamond.
Right.
So the body is the same, magnetic system is the same. Diamond, of course, indicates we still have diamond cantilever, and of course replicant 100. Non-magnetic armature, all the same things that we know are really, really good. So we really loved that cartridge, MC and a diamond, really.
Yeah.
So what to do about it if we want to make it better? And the one thing that we have not really been working on for a while was the suspensions, the rubber suspensions. So that was the place to go, and sort of the rubber suspensions are sometimes overlooked. It's sort of a stupid piece of rubber or two pieces of rubber sitting there because they have to sit there.
Right.
But it's much more than that. This is definitely about it's the interface between the stationary part and the moving part. So they determines everything how the moving part will interact with the stationary part. So extremely important in that way.
And that's a specialty of your company, is the elastomers.
This is a specialty, and I dare to say that we are probably the only cartridge company sort of developing, producing, and testing our own rubber compounds. I don't think there are any other doing it. Maybe I could be wrong.
And you do that for other aspects of your business.
We have a lot of business regarding rubber for the hearing aid business and the different...
What?
No, I didn't. No, hearing aid business is very important.
Yes.
They need some rubber to decouple things into in the hearing aids.
Right.
So that is, and also for medical business, because we can do things that are very special. We can develop our own compounds, and this is the key thing. We have 5 years ago roughly hired a chemical engineer, and he has now been really working through all this rubber thing, and now he is at the point where he is developing really new things for us, really brand new things, new compounds with new properties. And this is the exciting thing, because we are talking about a new additive in the rubber, this multi-walled nano tube carbon thing that is, we have seen that also in the Verismo, and that now we are using it here as well, specially developed for this one. And that gives people like me who are developing the cartridge a new possibility to have a different compromise, because it's a different compromise between compliance and damping, because you want to have a hard rubber to have high damping, but you don't want to have a hard rubber because you also want to have a nice compliance. So this compromise is always sort of the critical point in developing a cartridge, and this compromise has now changed. So now it's a new game. So the things I have learned, I do not need to unlearn them, but I need to, I got some new things I can do now.
And so compliance is higher now?
On the paper, the compliance is in fact not higher, but the tracking ability is definitely a lot better. And well, I'm on camera, I know, but I can say that we are aware that there has been some issues that some of our MC and diamonds might not have been tracking totally up to what they were supposed to be. They were a little bit low on that. Also depending on how you would test it. But right now, that is gone.
Oh, that's great.
So.
And what about over time with these compounds?
They're totally stable. They're totally stable. As always, I've been running prototypes for a really long time. So the first rubbers for this was made 2 years ago. And I've been running them in different prototypes, and they're perfectly stable.
And that's the responsible thing to do with a new material. You want to see how it develops and how it operates over time.
That is extremely critical. The thing about rubber is that you're vulcanizing it, and all those polymer bonds that you make, they are supposed to be stable if you are vulcanizing it 100%. So the critical thing is that if you don't do that, if it's not totally vulcanized, then things can happen. But we are so experienced in doing that, and we have testing equipment and everything. So every batch that we produce is tested.
Why don't you work with one of the hearing aid manufacturers and brand an Ortofon hearing aid for audiophiles? I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
That could be fun. It could be fun. Making something that it makes it easier for the hearing aid person to sort of listen to music.
Because
Maybe
there are brands that do that are really, really good, but if you brand it with your name and get involved, it might be a good place to go.
that might be an interesting idea. I've not thought about that.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, I'm happy about this. And if you remember back when we had the boron cantilever as our best cantilever with the Replicon 100, then we developed the Century and a diamond with the diamond cantilever, and everybody, including myself, was wow,
yep.
What is going on? I did not expect this much. I did expect something, but not. And I almost had the same experience with this one. Not that I was thinking about that the rubber is a stupid thing, but okay, I expected something would happen, but this was, wow, this was not just subtle. It was definitely much more so comparable to this aha experience. This is what I had out of it. So it was, that made me happy, of course.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So one other question. So at the bottom of the moving magnet line, you've had the 2M blue and red forever. Are you developing a replacement for that or something at the entry level?
We are working on that, yeah. We're definitely working on that, and we are not ready yet, but we will announce something later this year. So later this year we will announce something. When we will be ready with the products, I cannot really say, because again, when we make a entry-level moving magnet cartridge, we expect that to live for 20 years.
Well, you've done that. How long has the 2M series been around?
That's been around for 15 years now.
That's a nice lifespan.
But the OM has been around for 30 years.
That's right.
So, and it's still selling. So we want to make a new one which can last really for a long time. So this is not just, we would like to have something new in the market. You always want to that, but you also want to have the right thing.
Yes.
We do not want to hurry or rush this. We are really doing it the right way, waiting until we have the right product.
Right. So Ryan Mitrovic, Vinyl Alliance, and you are from, where are you from?
I'm originally from Seattle, the United States, but I'm living in Vienna, Austria now, which is where the Vinyl Alliance is based.
Okay.
Loosely, because we're a remote organization and we have members from all over Europe and the United States.
And so what is your position in the organization?
So I've recently been hired as the general manager.
Okay.
So yeah, my role will be pretty varied. I'm going to focus a lot on organizational tasks.
So it's a trade group, essentially.
It is, yeah.
And you're trying to
the first of its kind, to my knowledge.
Yes.
Within the vinyl
Because vinyl
industry.
was dying. It was dead. Let's face it. It was supposed to be gone by now, but instead.
But I think everyone pretty much agrees, or everyone's read those articles that vinyl's back. Can the resurgence last? But
beyond back.
I think at this point it's settled in that it is back, and now it is a bona fide industry.
Yes.
And I think the timing for the vinyl, something like the Vinyl Alliance, to appear and organize and gather the stakeholders from across the industry, from the hardware to the record labels to distribution, retail.
Are you going to try to establish standards of any kind?
That's been discussed.
Yeah.
Our role, as we see it, at least initially, is first of all to facilitate communication among the different companies, our member organizations, with the hope of generating opportunities to collaborate or cross-promotion activities.
And how many companies belong to this organization at this point?
Right now we're around 20 members,
that's good.
But you asked what my role will be, and very much focused on growing the organization.
So you're the recruiter.
In a way, so
you
to
should
speak.
be wearing a uniform, with some stripes on it or something.
Well, like I said, I'm new to the role, so I'm here in Munich to learn a lot, to meet some people, and then, I think once after some time, maybe I'll increase the visibility.
Great. And so there's a Vinyl Alliance meeting in Nashville?
Just in under a month. Yes. Most of our members will be represented there. We have a lot of topical discussions in terms of what activities are going on with each of our member organizations, but then we're also going to discuss some topics, for example, sustainability issues within the industry.
Will you come out with a press release at the end of this and send it to me so I can publicize it for you?
Gladly.
That would be good.
Of course.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hello, Mike.
And this is your turntable here?
This is my turntable.
So So tell me about it.
The main thing is the tone arm, which is zero tracking tone arm.
So it's a linear tracking pivoted arm.
Yes.
You can see we are still on the city where we use the phono. Even phono 9
Some other items, one special item in the tone arm tube, which is made of two concentric carbon fiber tubes with a gel inside for damping purposes, and it works quite well. If you want to listen to it, you can look to hold 3K14.
Okay.
It's over there a few steps.
Okay. And what are you going to sell this for?
26,000, including the Ortofon release.
Good choice. That's a great one.
It's a great.
I know, I love that.
Real
I bought one. Okay.
So we sell the turntable and we sell the tone.
And how much is that OEMs? Can a consumer buy that?
Yes.
And what would that cost?
9,500.
9,500. Well, you've seen most of these already. That's a serious piece of work. Right across the hall from Pro-Ject is Thorens.
Yeah, the TPP 1600 Thorens phono preamplifier, but it's also a full preamplifier. So we have two line inputs, balanced and unbalanced, and we have three line, two phono and three line. Sorry. And this is not a BU meter, this is a measurement instrument. So here you can adjust your parameters for your cartridge, and we have a measurement system integrated for azimuth and for channel balance.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And what is this going to sell for in America?
To be honest, we don't know. So this is the prototype so far, and you know the price is increasing a lot for microchips, and we still need some time to
Increasing is good if you can get the parts.
Yeah,
Forget
yeah,
about the price increase. Just
Correct,
getting them, I'm
yeah.
sure. Okay, what else you got? What else you got?
So you already know our TD1601. You have reviewed it, and now we have a new tone arm. It's called TP160 with a knife edge bearing. So this is the tone arm looks a little bit like the unit from the TP124, but inside it's a totally different mechanism. So you see the knife, and this is held by 4 magnets as well, and with very low tolerances. And to be honest, the performance difference between the TP92 and this one, this is huge.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
It looks much more substantial.
Yes, it is. The azimuth is changed by the edge.
That's better.
Yeah, this is more easy.
Yes, it's also better.
Yeah. And the anti-skating here is with the spring. This is with magnetics, and both have
pluses and minuses. And is there a price for this?
In Europe, 4,000 euro. This is 3,300, and this is 4,000. So this is not the successor. This is a step up. Yeah. But customers who have the 1600 series, they can upgrade with the TP160. It will cost 1,000 euro additional. We have to not only change the arm, we also have to change the arm board and the sub-chassis.
Sure, of course. Different ways.
This is our new vinyl brush with goat hair, and so we use it like this. First here, and then we go to the middle, and cleans very well. Here we have a small brush for the stylus, and this is a new accessory from Thorens.
Okay, now we're going to try a different microphone, and so everybody that's going to watch this video can tell me which microphone they approve of. All right, so now we're going to go over and look at the inside of the phone of this TPP 1600.
1600. Here on the right side you have these two phono modules, and by the way, please have a look at the back side. So it's all balanced and unbalanced inputs and outputs, ground switch, and so DC reject.
Okay, very serious.
Yeah, thank you. And each phono module has two inputs, individual inputs. So you can use the balanced or the unbalanced as two inputs with individual settings for each input.
Really? So it's actually twice as many inputs?
Yes. So we have four phono pre's, so two balanced and two unbalanced. But the good news is these are the three line modules, and this is the output module. So you can disconnect one of the line modules and add an additional phono module. So you can add maximum 5 phono modules with 10 inputs. But this is...
and you're still working on a price for this? So.
We're still working on the price. Difficulty is the microchips, the availability of the microchips, and so on. Right. So this is the filter for the high voltage, and here is the... this is the...
transformer?
Yes, correct. Thanks for helping me out. Yes.
As best as I can.
Yeah.
All right. Looks serious.
Let's say entry-level product, a TD204. New is here the tone arm, and this one is at $799. Oh. It's a good entry for customers for good value for money. Also with SME head shell. And this
isn't the same. Is it the same arm?
No, it's a different.
It's cosmetically similar, but this has got a regular gimbal bearing on it. Not
this is the new design of the Thorens brand. So we want to have nearly the same design everywhere. So if you come into the shop, you can see, yes, this is a Thorens.
Yep.
And no funky stuff.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. And this is 800 euro.
Yes.
And this is
correct. This is a belt drive.
Yep.
We have not decided which cartridge we use. Okay, maybe we will use a better one. Nobody knows right now.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And with a removable head shell, people can get another head shell and put whatever they want.
It also has integrated and switchable phono preamplifier, so it's an easy-to-use product out of the box.
Okay. And then down line one. This is the bottom of the.
Yeah, this is the TD202, the smaller brother. Different target group. It also has an USB output. Some people want it. Okay, sure. This is the only one we have with USB out, but it has a different tone arm. This is for sure much better. This tone arm.
And what is this? What does this sell for?
This is $649.
All right.
And we have 2 new full automatic turntables. I know this is also a niche market, but let's have a look on the other side.
I mean, there's a market for that. For either older people or handicapped people. Seriously, people have trouble.
Correct. So these are the TD102A, which we have introduced half a year ago. And new for the show is the entry-level full automatic TD101A. So it has a basic cartridge, and here we have carbon tube, and this is aluminium tube. And if you look at the cabinet, different.
And this one's 549 euros.
Yes, correct.
Fully automatic.
Fully automatic.
You push a button and it plays, and then at the end it comes back.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Yeah. And this one does that also.
And phono preamp switchable, everything.
740.
We're selling huge of them.
I'm sure.
But they are not sold through traditional hi-fi dealers. They are sold mainly online. So customers, they buy, they want a turntable, they trust our brand, and they remember Thorens, and then they buy.
And it's not all plastic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's some plastic, but it's not all plastic.
Yeah, but it's okay. Not too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all you got for me?
Yes.
That's plenty.
Did you see the TD1500 and 402 already?
Not yet. No.
Let's have a look. Come on.
Okay.
This is a small one, 2,000 euro, including the Ortofon Bronx cartridge. So I think this is a great offer. This is a standard sub-chassis turntable with this new TP150 tone arm. You see the mechanism for the anti-skating. It's a very nice designs.
Oh.
And by the way, if you use, somebody put it the wrong way. Just a
How
second.
dare they?
It was not me, I guess.
Well,
but anyhow.
and if it was you, you'll blame somebody else anyway. That's what the head of a company can do.
Yeah, but this counterweight is interesting because we can use very heavy cartridges, including Ortofon SPU.
Right.
But you can also use a light cartridge like an HANA SL, for example, which has only 5 grams. Then you can disassemble this second plate, and then you have a lighter counterweight. So very flexible tone arm.
And the anti-skating works how?
Look.
There's a little red ruby.
No, yeah, this is the ruby bearing, and here's the spring. It's mounted here, and it goes around the arm, and then here we have the.
Oh.
This is the
so
anti.
You move that.
Yes, you move that weight. So here's it starts with 0.5,
Right.
1.5, 2 grams. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
That's something new. Okay.
Last but not least, this is our new direct drive turntable. So it has the same tone arm like the 1500, but with a direct drive motor.
Okay.
And this comes with the Ortofon 2M Blue, which is a nice 220 euro cartridge out of the box like this.
And that's 1400.
That's 1400.
T403 direct drive. Okay. That's very competitive in this market.
Thank you.
And this one is same thing.
Yeah, it's the same, just
Different
different color. This is the wooden finish. Correct.
Okay. Great.
These are our news.
That's it.
That's it.
That you were very busy. You've been very busy.
Actually, yes, we are.
Great.
We have some new cartridges, but anyhow, we can talk about that.
Is this the first showing of the Wilson-Benesch?
This is the first showing of the functional GMT system. So I can talk about everything in it apart from the details of the motor.
You are?
I'm one of the directors of Wilson-Benesch, and Christina is the other director, and there's also Luke Mills, who is around here, and there's Carl also from the company, and we've got George on the way.
Okay.
So what you're seeing here is basically a system which is the culmination of, I would say, a lifetime's work, because we started with analog, as you know, as a business.
Yes.
Our first product was a record player. We've only brought out 2 record players in our whole history.
Yes.
But of course we have also brought out tone arms, and as you can see in this tone arm, we have got the original shape of the first tone arm that we first introduced, but this has got some nice graphene.
And can I ask you for one favor?
Yes, sure.
Could you remove the iPhone from the picture?
Of course I can.
Okay. Thank you.
It's an Android.
I know it's
an Android.
whatever it is. It's a smartphone. It's ubiquitous, but it's not part of this. Okay.
Well, it is actually in a way, but I'll come to that later.
Okay.
So what we've got in the system in the tone arm, if I may start with that, because I've gone on to that.
Sure.
We've obviously got the carbon fibre, which is a wound helix, which is formed in a single tool. So there is no junction at the head shell. It's all one component. And then onto the rear of the system, you've got a multiple number of different materials. So if I start with this material here, this is actually an additive manufactured carbon polymer component, which we've pioneered this. If you look on the Markforged website, you'll see a lot of information about our collaboration with Markforged from the USA. And then we go into the titanium part. Now this titanium part, I can show you some more parts of this when George arrives, because he's got some additional samples. But this is additively manufactured also, of course, by a company called Renishaw that we're also collaborating with. Renishaw is quite a big company in the UK that actually manufactures multiple laser additive manufacturing system. So we've got the absolute minimum of materials being used here, and where it is used, it's exactly the same as you would find in nature. It's used exactly for its purpose, and there's no redundancy in materials whatsoever.
Can I stop you for 1 second because my battery is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay, so I was saying that there's no redundancy in the material, but also there's some other innovations in the way that we've manufactured the titanium parts. So if you look at the counterweights, which obviously are disposed to give it maximum lateral stability, this is solid on the external surface, but internally it's still powder.
Oh.
So we have a powdered damping mechanism built into the counterweight structure itself, which is very nice, of course. And you'll also notice that the wire, which is always an infernal problem with any tone arm, the wire is dressed and it passes all the way through the titanium and emerges directly above the bearing. So the bearing, as you can see, as always has been with Wilson-Benesch, we manufactured this bearing for a long time. This isn't a unipivot in the sense of a unipivot. This uses 3 balls. So you can see the pivot point there in the tone arm at the top. So there's a 1mm ball there, and then located in the top of the stem is a 3-point contact. So there are 3 more 1mm balls. The contact surface area between these balls is 0.0394 millimeters. So the entire mass of this system is going through a tiny, tiny fraction of material. Subsequently, you get a pressure at those points of contact of 13.5 tons. It's called Hertzian forces. You can go onto the internet and you can do the calculations yourself.
Or you can watch pornography. So your choice.
That would be a choice that you could make.
Yes.
The tone arm, obviously, one of the nice things about this tone arm is that we can adjust the VTA remotely. So instead of operating the VTA from a distance, you can control VTA from here. Now this is one of the innovations that we've introduced. It uses a piezo actuator, which is used in optic systems. So for example, on the app, you can see here, we have vertical tracking angle, so we can adjust this vertically and attain the VTA from the seated position. You can then lock it fully into place. However, we use an engineering component down here which is used on high precision CNC machining, which holds the center of the shaft. So down the shaft there is a tungsten carbide shaft, which is one of the hardest materials. Obviously it's almost as hard as diamond.
Right.
And this shaft is then going down to the actuator, which is beneath, and the piezo actuator works. It doesn't function like a motor, so there is no backlash or any variation. So
There's no lag in this, so it doesn't keep going after you tell it to
it
stop.
works like this. So it's got 4 legs. So when the piezo works, 2 of the legs move forward, and then the other 2 move forward like this.
Wow.
So it's fixed. Whenever it moves, it is constantly fixed. And as a result, you can not only move to very, very small changes in the VTA, but you can go back to where it was before and know that it's exactly in the same position. So this is the kind of technology that they use on telescopes to obtain very, very, very small incremental movements and be able to return back to exactly where you were before. Which obviously you can't do this with any kind of thread. You always get a certain amount of backlash with any thread.
That's incredible.
Azimuth, obviously, we adjust azimuth with a part of the counterweight, so we can rotate this. We can also rotate this. This is the beam which adjusts these 2 outriggers.
And those outriggers are the stabilization outriggers.
That's right. And you can also, we have also made provision for further damping if you require it. There is a silicon bath provision here.
Yep.
So the ball that you can see goes into this trough. So you can actually locate in the trough a very small amount of silicon right at the bottom of the ball if you want to. Or you can submerge the entire ball if you want it really stable. But in actual fact, we're running it here, as you can see. And it's very stable as soon as it's located. As it always has been in this bearing.
Yep.
So, we've got remote control VTA, we've also got remote control lift lower, and we've also got remote control on the turntable motor itself. So the motor itself is a direct drive system, which is been a very long development for the company. It's a collaborative development that's cost hundreds of thousands of pounds in collaborative work with the Sheffield Hallam University, forgive me. Sheffield Hallam University, we had a professor who's an expert in motor drive technologies, and Dr. John Travis and Graham Cochrane. So they work with us on developing this turntable. It's driven by three-phase supply, which is a sinusoidal waveform, which was developed in collaboration with another company, which is a specialist in power amplifiers, Dr. Carl Broomfield and Neil Broomfield of Cass Audio, which is close to Wilson-Benesch, so it's convenient.
And are these people into vinyl playback too, or are they just...
Yes, yeah, they design amplifiers. They've been working in the High End. They're a small company near us, but very, very able to design amplifiers of very high quality for this kind of application.
Okay.
So there are three sine waves driving this. So we call this the alpha drive. So the alpha drive, basically, as you can see, the symbol is very nice because it gives you this impression of the waveforms that are being generated. So we're not using a digital type of generating a digital waveform for generating the sine wave. It's a pure sine wave. And that's also monitored by Hall sensors.
Right.
Now the Hall sensors are purely there for belt and braces so that the algorithm can be monitored, because the design of the motor is geared towards not being what would be described by Professor Eric Laithwaite, who is a phenomenal person that used to exist a long time ago, invented the linear motor.
Right.
He came from Lancashire, and he basically developed the concept of the goodness factor.
Yeah, how many Hall sensors are in there?
There's only two.
Only two, okay.
So Professor Laithwaite basically established this concept of what is the goodness factor in a motor. And generally speaking, most motors that everybody uses in turntable design, whether it be a direct drive or a belt drive or whatever, they all are driven by motor systems that were geared around the concept of trying to get maximum torque with minimum energy input.
Right.
And high torque, high energy input always gives you cogging effect on the motor, which you can never eliminate. Or the only thing you can do is try to isolate the motor therefore from it, which is why we have a belt drive.
Right.
But of course in a direct drive it would be a very big problem, because you will always get the cogging, and what people try to do to overcome the problem then is add a lot of mass. But we also know that when you add mass to the system, that sound is affected, impacts itself on the character of the sound. So we don't want that. We want to have a motor which will drive, but without torque. So the motor that we've developed is quite a substantial system. There's nothing like it been created like this for a turntable previously. And because of the way that it functions at very, very low efficiency, we require a very sophisticated algorithm to start the thing, because it will not start without an algorithm that can deal with this low level of drive.
And then once it starts, it drops down?
Once it's locked in, it's a synchronous design.
Right.
Once it's locked in, we also have some technologies which actually respond electromagnetically to any fluctuations, in addition to the synchronicity. So if there are fluctuations in the system, there are systems also built into the system which sense that and retard it electromagnetically before it even starts to lose its correct speed.
And so you're using weights, peripheral weights?
We're using some peripheral weight just to add to that, but again, Hertzian forces dictate that with any kind of bearing, it's a single point phosphor bronze plain bearing with a tungsten carbide shaft. So, right. But with anything of this sort of mass, you still get enormous forces on that single ball point. So we've got on this some magnetic support that just takes off some of the pressure on the ball, so that we can get absolute certainty that there's not going to be too much pressure ever applied to the ball, which is a ceramic ball. So we've got ceramic against tungsten carbide, so it will last much longer than the owner and his daughter or his son.
Okay.
We're using acrylic, of course, because of the fact that we want the energy that's from the vinyl to be communicated away and into the bearing as quickly as possible. So we terminate the vinyl, and we can control the record player also in the same way as we can control the In the same way as we can control the tone arm, we can also control the record player. So you've just seen I've just touched it to stop it. We can run it at 45 if we want to so choose. So we just.
And can you do 78 also?
And we can do 78 also.
Okay, so if I come back to, I have a 78 RPM micro groove LP record from an RCA Living Stereo.
Let's do that.
It only runs about 5 minutes, but it's wow. I'll bring that back.
Yeah, so we're at 45 now. Oh, so here's the component. George has just literally arrived from England. So as you can see, this has all been highly optimized in terms of its geometry to provide the structure where you want it and no additional material. And you can see where the wire goes up through the inside and emerges. As you can see, the bearing is here and the tone arm wire emerges here, so it's almost exactly above.
Where you want it, so there's no pull.
Yeah, and if you feel the weight of this is titanium, but
I'll just take that.
It's hollow, and it's also coated with titanium nitride.
Wow.
So the titanium nitride, this is not just trying to make it look flashy.
Not for the Asian market.
This is the kind of the material that they put on drill bits, which drill tool steel. So it is very, very hard.
And then you finish it to be silver, or you can make it.
We can do it in different. We can even do it black. The black looks a little bit like a blue bottle.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of colour. And one of the main reasons why we've tried to also reduce the complexity of the system is that we want this to be an archive system. We want the user. Can you see the detritus that's on this record player here?
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely covered, and we wipe it and it happens again. Now, what we're trying to achieve here is a system whereby the owner can actually operate this system
and play records without having to tweak it.
Without rubbish everywhere, and be confident that when they put the record onto the platter, that is not going to get covered in dust. So you can clean the surface of this player very, very easily. There's no complexity whatsoever, and in fact, this platter will lift off. And in other systems, we're talking about being able to replace the platter with other alternative materials. So you'll be able to also experiment with different platter materials.
Now, this platter is just is the whole thing, or
no? This separates from the hub. This is the hub which is mounted onto the top of a tungsten carbide shaft.
So this just comes up.
So you can lift that off the taper, and then the motor. This is the main rotor of the motor, if you like.
And then you could replace that with a different material. If somebody said to you, "I would like."
This is precisely exactly what the system is all about.
If I want a ceramic platter, you could
tungsten,
make whatever,
or a very complex additive manufacture,
or an Oreo cookie. I want an Oreo cookie platter.
We can do anything.
So I can play it and then eat it. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that's incredible.
And that also applies to the tone arm, because the way that the tone arm bearing operates, it means you can undo this, lift off the azimuth wire, the anti-escape ball, and the whole thing can just lift off, and then you can put on a different tone arm with a different
so you can have a different, so interchangeable arms.
Literally within a minute.
It's going to cost you a couple of bucks to do that, but you can do it.
You can do that.
And anybody who can afford this can do that. They're not going to say, well, I can afford this whole thing, but then I got to stop because I can't afford another. They can do that.
You're on it.
Now this is
So this is glass, which is on the home scale it's 5, so it's very hard wearing.
And below.
But it's laminated also, so it's very highly damped, and this is also pressure pointed onto these 4 points, which we use one of those obviously to create an electrical connection out.
Okay.
And then this whole system floats on another system, which, as you can see,
what is it?
It's completely self-leveling. So these are
magnetic
4 pneumatic cylinders, and this has been taken again from the microscope industry.
Okay.
So this is a fully developed technology which has been created by a very large company that we've adapted to this function.
Is it passive or is there a pump?
It's fully self-controlled, computer controlled. There is a pneumatic cylinder supplied with it, so we provide a compressor. But once it's up and level, it uses no air, okay. So you'll never hear the compressor.
How big is the compressor?
We put it in the far corner over here. It's basically a kind of compressor you'll see in a dentist.
I'll just
That's probably not the compressor.
Oh.
With the bottles.
Yeah, it's a medical quality compressor. And when it operates, it's like a fridge sound. So even if it does operate, you'll not hear it.
Right.
So we've got a 30 meter cable running from the pneumatic compressor.
An air line.
And a 7.5 frequency, resonant frequency in the horizontal.
Okay, so 1.5 up and 7.5
horizontal.
laterally.
So in terms of control, this system is extremely good at isolating anything from the environment. So that's then built onto the R1 rack, which we developed 5 years ago for this system, just to give you an idea of how much work's gone into this. And as you can see, we've got the rack, which basically gives you the perfect mounting system for this system to operate from.
Right.
We tested this in university. It will take 2 tons before it breaks.
Wow.
We use carbon fiber again, obviously, it's a part and parcel of who we are, but we also compress the carbon with 14 millimeter bolts, so that this is held under enormous compressive forces.
How much does this whole thing weigh?
It's approximately 0.6 of a ton.
Wow. And because it's modular, you're able to easily move it.
You can, yeah. We use some carefully designed systems that allow you to assemble this thing quite quickly.
And what am I seeing here?
Well, this is normally where you'd be able to see the motor, but we've had to unfortunately cover the motor up because otherwise it will compromise our chances of patenting.
I got you.
So we've just put a veil of carbon fiber in front so that people can't see. But obviously, when this is running, the beauty of the motor is something that we want to share with people, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And we can also make this in complete transparency, so you can see the motor from above, so it looks like a Swiss watch.
Yeah. That's all. And that's all.
And that's all.
The whole thing?
No, I haven't finished. A little bit more.
Okay.
So you can actually the Alpha drive, which drives the motor, obviously has also got all the pneumatic systems in here, and that can also be tuned to whatever people want. So if they want a system which is really sensitive and always returns to micromillimeters, they can tune it to that, but then it becomes a little bit more jittery when it's disturbed.
I see.
So this has been set now so that if people come in and they start playing with it, it's not going to get unhappy.
Yeah, got it.
But even so, it settles down usually within half a minute. And there are lots of things I've probably not remembered to talk about, but
that's a good start.
I think
that's a good starter.
The lion's share.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you've seen the majority. Oh, sorry, I'm ripping your finger off. Oh, now you can see how this fits. Because this is additively manufactured to micron size, you can see this is the other part. So on this one, we've got the carbon polymer part of this. This one is actually titanium.
Wow.
So what we've done here, we've got what you would regard as a medium mass tone arm, whereas this will be a higher mass tone arm.
I see. So you can change the mass.
So you can adjust things quite simply by having a different construction, obviously. Because the mass, when it comes further down the arm, obviously the moment of inertia is always going to give you more of an issue when you bring material towards the end of the tone arm.
Right.
And this is the counterweight, which has got the powder internally, and this has obviously been polished up and nitrided as the rest.
And is that's a 12-inch arm?
Yeah. And this is the tungsten carbide shaft, which is extremely high precision, extremely hard.
The bearing shaft?
That's right.
In there.
That's what's going down the centre of there, and there's another one for the tone arm.
Just different construction, same material.
Same material, yeah. So this is the kind of materials technology which is being used, and will provide the owner with the idea that it's never going to wear it.
So now the $64 question is, when do you think you're going to have this in production and saleable?
Well, the design is a system, and it always has been conceived right from square one as being something that we want to try and make as accessible as possible. So there are concepts for lower price models as well as medium price models and higher price models, but what we want to try and do is to make it so that the owner who accesses the system at the lower level can build up by adding componentry. So the R1 rack obviously is one component.
Right.
The suspension system is another component. The motor system is another component. So what we want to try and ideally do is to be able to enable people to access where they want to go and build up if they so wish.
So this is actually a particular build of a system that could be up,
This is
up
just
or
one
down.
particular format that it's been presented in. The largest system will have facilities for storage, so that the platters and the tone arms, because we would be intending to supply multiple platters and multiple tone arms, so they would then have, all they have to do is remove the tone arm and they've got exactly the same VTA systems. You don't have to buy that
and
3 times.
It's all set up essentially.
And you can adjust it from sitting in your seat where you're listening to the music rather than stood next
and
to
once
the
you
record
once
player.
you've registered the settings for the different arms,
You can flip to the different one.
Right.
And you can also set settings for records.
Okay.
So you could have a particular record that is very thick on some that are very thin. You can just dial in the VTA for that record.
Okay. And so, but you have no idea what this is going to cost, as seen here.
We think that by the end of the year we should have some reasonably good ideas on where the different positions of the systems are. It's not going to be an inexpensive system because we've been developing this for a very long time.
Yes, of course.
There's a huge amount of investment of public money has gone into this as well, because we've had not one but 2 government grants to help us develop this product. The one we got most recently was actually when COVID started, because we had to shift all our R&D budget into production, and the government made available to people who were doing R&D the opportunity to apply for funding to maintain their R&D budgets.
Right.
So we made an application and we got £350,000 of public money to support the university and CAS Audio as well as Wilson-Benesch. So that was the
So you
last
think
grant.
this is going to cost around £250,000?
I think the top system's going to be higher than that, and the middle one is...
They're out there already.
The
so
middle one is going to be less than that.
Yeah.
This is probably, I would say, going to be much closer to the 150 than 250.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't hold me to that.
I will not hold you to anything here.
That's a discussion that's going to have to be had with all the directors.
Thank you very much.
Rather than just me, I'm just giving you a concept.
Yeah, thank you. We always love coming into this room. This is bigger than it looks because this is a big room.
Hello, we have our new Relentless Epic 800 mono amplifier. The Relentless amplifier started 4 years ago. We've updated its technology completely as part of this development. So now the Relentless amp is called the Relentless Epic, and now here's its baby brother, the Relentless Epic 800. As you can probably figure out, it's 800 watts into 8 ohms. It'll double its power all the way down to 2. It has a brand new input stage and output stage topology. That was all part of our developments that came out of the Relentless preamplifier, the HD, the Momentum HD preamplifier, and the new Momentum MXV have all contributed to this new epic circuitry that we have in the Relentless.
And what is this going to sell for in America?
This will sell for $195 a pair. The Relentless preamplifier here at the show has its new streaming module in it as well, which we haven't shown. This is brand new for the show. So has everything you would need. NAS, UPnP, also has streaming from Tidal and Rune, as well as Qobuz, all resident in our app that we build or develop ourselves. So if you're not a Rune guy, we do have our own app for that as well.
And are they going to move over from that system to this system at some point?
Eventually it goes around 20 minutes or so per system. I don't know the exact schedule, but it's bouncing around.
Okay, so basically, this is the same motor as the big one?
This is K1, right?
Oh, this is
in a beautifully redesigned form with a downsized platter, motor, and bearing from K3. So it's K3, sort of like miniaturized.
But it's called K5.
It's K5, yeah.
All right.
And this will be at a lower price point from K3, which is of course quite expensive.
Yes.
But it's really the same everything in terms of the design philosophy, construction, etc. The motor's from the same manufacturer. It's just a slightly less powerful motor because you don't want to put the larger motor on this, and the platter is also.
Now the one downside of this turntable is there's no arm attached to it. It's just a spinning platter, correct?
Yeah, no arm because it's magic. You visualize the arm, and it's
where
like
does
a
the
Zen
arm?
meditation. You visualize it.
That's a step
it
up.
Happens.
That's a step up.
It's a
There's
step
no
up.
tracking error.
Transformation.
Yeah, no tracking error. No, I mean it's.
There's
perfect.
no error at all.
That's right. Now, and so where does the arm board go?
This is the cool part. This is the arm board. So this whole plate, which is structurally very rigid and hold, this actually right here, we cut the arm. We cut the hole for the arm for you. And so your arm goes here, and you can remove this. It will take a minute or two to take all these things out and put a new one on. But this is your arm board.
Wow.
And it's part of the structural integrity of the system.
And your name is?
I have to check. Oh, I'm Jonathan.
Jonathan Weiss from OMA.
Yes, I'm the founder and
okay. Well, this is very beautiful.
Head monkey of this place. So, well, I got to flip the record.
Actually, turn this up a little. Just a little.
Oh, yeah, Pierre Henri?
Yeah.
That's great. How many people do we have in the room right now? Let's see, in 2 minutes. Let's do another count.
Sorry, I'm just going to be.
Yeah, no, this is good. Actually, if you're going to do a video, this is great music.
Yeah, because Sony won't shut me down.
Yeah, this is cool.
Okay, so that's it right there.
Okay, first thing is we made this is a start differently. This is a smaller brother of the TR9 tone arm we did 2 years ago.
Okay.
Same bearing design, same bearings, same anti-skating design as the big one, but the arm tube is only one piece, dampened, silicon dampened inside, and the weight is as a classical one-piece weight, not as you see on the right here, the more complicated version.
Right. And this is magnetic anti-skating?
Yes, yes.
And so
it's a magnetic anti-skating with a row of magnets in different strengths. So the anti-skating changes when the arm is going over the rack.
As it should.
Yeah, as it should.
And so, when you were cast adrift in the tone arm world by that other company, how long did it take you to really get this thing ready to go?
I mean, we were working in the background because you should be prepared for everything, but it took, let's say, 8 months or something until it was on the market then.
And so this is the more expensive arm here?
Yes, yes.
Why don't you show
this
everybody?
Is the Big Brother, this is the chrome version. After that you see it's a two-piece arm tube. It's two tubes in another, but they're machined, so they're not ready-made tubes, but they are machined and very, very thick. Yeah, so no version. And the weight adjustment is very comfortable here. This is like that, anti-skating, yes.
And it's a non-removable head shell. It's all one.
Yes, it's one piece, yeah. We thought about this, some people wished for a removable head shell, but in theory this is better and...
yeah, it's more rigid. Okay. And are you selling the arm separately, or you just keep it in-house?
No, both. So it's separately, but logically most of them we sell.
Of course. So what does this arm cost by itself?
This is 4,900 euro for the black version, and this is 400 something
extra. Okay, and the inexpensive arm, are you going to sell it as a separate product too?
Yes.
That's very nice. And what would that cost?
3,750.
The new Transrotor turntable, the Strato Nero.
And comes fully optioned, comes with their top of the line tone arm, comes with a moving coil cartridge.
Yes.
Yes.
So we wanted to have a classic turntable, something not as complicated as the other ones. In the inside though, it's a classic Transrotor turntable with solid aluminum plates, 3 motors, our TMD magnet drive bearing with the magnetic coupling inside.
And that's a Delrin?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Acrylic, aluminum, and Delrin.
And this sells for how much? 20K?
It's a complete package.
Euro. So in America, it's not the price is the dollar a euro is pretty close right now.
So
10%.
probably around with shipping and everything, the freight around 25 with everything.
Yeah. Okay. What's this?
The other 2 ones are the entry level ones here, the Massimo Nero. Right there. And it comes with their new 9S. You can order it as a separate turntable without the tone arm.
Okay.
And then the third one
What's
here.
this?
That is the motor controller.
Oh.
You know, you can turn it on and off with this here like that.
There's a wire. There's a cable that would.
There's a cable that we connect here.
And then this is even lower.
Lower here than Max Nero. So the Nero versions are Delrin. They do have the chrome versions also. So this one is without tone arm, and the other one also.
Okay.
The price is without.
2,800 without tone arm, and that's also
without tone arm.
4,300 without tone arm. Here's the Bergman line of turntables.
So then we got 2.5 to 4.4.
We showed this in the video for Expona. So these are the Ypsilon electronics. Those are the Alias 2 amplifiers. And there's the DAC, phono preamp, and preamp, and of course the Air Force One Premium. No, I'm going to bring it tomorrow. Oh, okay. Bring some records back
This is eccentricity stabilizer, and we detecting the inner groove by the infrared LED. And how to use it is very easy. Tap to the measuring button, and you can see this is eccentricity.
And how is there are lasers that are
yes,
and they're coming out here and they're seeing
yes. We use two infrared LED here and here, detecting the inner groove by LED.
Okay, so now it detects the error.
Yes, detecting the inner groove movement.
Right.
If there is no eccentricity, inner groove should be doesn't move. And after that, the measuring stops the turntable and push the bino by your hand.
But you have to make the hole bigger, right?
No. Normally there is some gap.
There's enough.
But sometimes we need to expand the hole.
Right.
But normally you don't need to expand it.
Really?
You see, there is adjusted. After that, let's see. There is no wave anymore, right? The eccentricity number is less than 20 micron, 15, 30, 40.
Okay, I'm still confused about how you moved the record.
Yes, you can try it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just wait. Okay.
Okay, so now
you can try it.
So I hold it steady.
Yes. And after that,
I don't feel any play in the. And you're saying there is actual play. There is play in there.
Yeah. You can see, and after the measuring, please stop the turntable, and I will hold it. Please.
Yes, it's running. So.
Okay. Please move the.
So now it's telling me that it's off to
the mark should be center. So please push the bino. You should hold both hands and push the bino.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't see.
No, yeah. You don't.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Right. You should push the bino.
Oh, not the
Not the.
Oh, okay.
Like this.
Oh, I see.
To push the bino like this way. Yes. Yes. Like this. Yes. Customer needs some practice.
Yeah. No kidding. Oh,
yeah.
So how much?
Oh, it's good. And then after that, please hold it and check. Yeah, it's almost gone, right? Almost straight. The eccentricity is less than 10 micron.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just not used to seeing that much play in a.
You want to listen to before and after? The before after. I can show you. You can listen to before and after.
Oh, I know it. I know what it would be. Okay, so let me just take this off for a second. It's pretty heavy. So this one looks like the record was reading out a little bit.
Yeah,
don't you think?
There is a gap.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if only one side is eccentric, then you have to do it on the other side too. That's no big deal, and you don't have to read out that much, really. Okay, and how much is this going to cost?
Retail is not decided, but the price will be 5,000 to 6,000 US dollar.
$6,000
for retail.
Yeah, that's a little.
But
it's costly, but you know, if you have a record that's worth $6,000 and you can't play it because it's doing that, then you've paid for it.
If there is eccentricity, cartridge moves a lot.
Of course.
And also the frequency moves a lot.
Of course.
And the important thing is, you can see now turntable wall flutter is very good enough now.
Yeah.
The wall flutter rate is 0.008%, something like that.
That's right.
But the vinyl eccentricity makes 10 times to 20 times worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It almost defeats the whole purpose of spending all that money on a turntable that has really good speed.
Yeah. So if you couldn't eliminate or reduce the eccentricity,
of course,
it doesn't. There is no reason to use a very expensive turntable. That's because we start the development of the eccentricity detection.
This is a great idea. And people who've spent a lot of money on turntables. It's not a big expense for them.
Yeah, you're right. And another thing, many people asking the difference between Nakamichi Dragon.
Right.
You know that?
Sure,
right?
of course. Well, that one moves the platter.
Yes.
That was before you were born.
yes.
I was older.
And we detect the same position in the groove and the groove.
Right.
But the difference is Nakamichi using a center rod, tone arm, to detect the movement. But we detect in a circle by LED. That is different.
Yeah.
Non-contact.
The technology's improved over the years.
Yeah.
Same idea, but this is great.
And Nakamichi automatically adjusts the eccentricity.
Right.
But our stabilizer, customer needs to adjust by yourself.
That's fine. So what?
Yeah.
Big deal.
That's the difference.
But you can keep your turntable. You don't have to get the special turntable.
Yes.
That's great. Here, I spoke about this in the Exponent video, but here it is. This is the new arm that Alan Perkins has developed for mobile fidelity, and now we can show it to you. And now, Alan, I met Alan only a couple of weeks ago. I've not known this guy since forever. I thought I did, but I didn't know. Okay, so run us through this arm, and maybe you should get on the other side so that you talk into the microphone.
All right. Yeah, so it is a hybrid design. There's a unipivot in top with it sitting a sapphire disc, and down here there are two ruby balls that stabilize that. So the thrust rotational part of it has 3 points of contact that are all zero gap. So it incorporates that principle of unipivot that gets you away from bearing gap. And it has high-grade ABEX 7 bearings in the side for the yoke. And other than that, like carbon fiber arm tube, it's got a spiral groove type counterweight where the mass moves forward past the pivot point to keep the center of mass close to the pivot.
Right.
It's got a removable head shell. There's a single screw in the back here. It has references for azimuth on the front. It's got this pin in it that allows you to put it over the gauge and sets the gauge up for you in an accurate position without guessing where the centers of anything are.
And it's got the little hole that I wrote about in my column in Storyfall that will be published in August. But anyway, that's
there.
Yeah.
So that hole allows you to put a gauge on. A pin goes into that hole, and the gauge is then set up. So you just tape the platter down, tape the gauge down. You don't have to look for any center points or anything. The gauge is in the right place.
And is that consistent with Lofgren A, Lofgren B?
It's a little different than either. I went with something a little bit different between those that I thought benefited modern listening more. I mean, some of those were made really with the idea of classical music having crescendos at the end of the record.
By the label.
By the label. And so I'm thinking most pop records, which in jazz records, most people I have found over the years say, oh, I listen to classical, then I say what? And you start asking questions, you find that they all listen to pop and jazz instead, but they say classical.
Right.
But anyway, those first cuts and the last cut, mostly the first cut and through the middle are going to be the main songs people play.
Right.
And I optimize it a little to take advantage of that.
But of course, if you want to use any other kind of alignment, you can just
without doubt
just ignore that and do whatever you want.
That's right. You can use a different gauge and set it up any way you like. This head shell is removable. There's a single screw in the back here, and it does not have contact points in it, so it doesn't give up anything. It works like a fixed head shell in terms of connections, and so you just take those off, and you can switch out cartridges easily.
And the head shells will not be too costly to have it.
I don't set prices, but that's the intent.
And now this is a new turntable?
Yes, it is. This is a master deck. It has a bearing in it that is of the spiral groove style bearing. The rotational point is at the belt, and there are contact points above and below the ball to stabilize the platter. It's a hybrid of aluminum and Delrin, which is the same as spiral groove, and I think really proven.
It's got the DNA of spiral groove.
Yeah, and RPM before that. And it has an AC synchronous motor, but it's a unique motor design. And when it starts up, what the software does is calculate through a sensor what the speed is, and through a crystal oscillator, it brings it up to speed. Let me see if that'll do this. It brings it up to speed, and once it knows that the speed is at 33.3, all the digital oscillation calculation, everything stops, and it relies on an accurate synchronous signal to run the synchronous motor. And so it works on mass and a synchronous signal with a synchronous motor, but it does use other aspects like maybe DC inversions to find the speed when it starts up. And it is 3 speeds. It's got 45.
This is a pitch control.
Yeah, that's a speed fine adjustment.
And is there a price for this yet?
Not fixed, but the approximate price is going to be around $6,000 for the whole thing.
That's very aggressive.
Yeah. And we got 78 too, which will hit there.
Do you play this any
No, we're not. We made them both with these arms, and we decided to hold off on these because we wanted to do a little more development before we demonstrate it to the public.
Okay, excellent. Now let's this is Peter Madnick, and I will post a picture of him from 1980 something just for the fun of it. He looks just as good now. He did
newly cut hair, just for the event.
Real hair, that's important. Now, Peter's designed a lot of products in this business over decades.
50 years.
50 years of products, and he owns his own factories. This is true in America. That's unique. And this is a new phono preamp that you have designed for
MoFi, right? It's called Master Phono.
The Master Phono. Now, why don't you talk about what's going on here?
So, when I was engaged to do this project, the first thing they said is we want these kind of quality features and important.
Can you talk a little bit louder than you normally do, just to make sure we're heard over the
I can do that.
Try that. Okay. Try to be like me. It's obnoxious, but
not
it works.
really. I don't want to be as obnoxious.
No, you shouldn't. No one should. Okay.
MoFi asked that we have a number of features, including low noise and these things. And I said, great, we have to have an external power supply. They said, absolutely not. It needs to be one box. Okay. So in thinking about this process, we said, well, what about if we make the power supply the front of the chassis and then provide an air gap and isolation and put the audio circuitry in the back? And that's exactly what we've done. So the AC comes up, follows in this shielded enclosure, follows the decoupled copper tube. AC comes in, power supply, microcontroller, logic for the meter, all of the control circuitry here.
Now let me stop you 1 second to emphasize. This is not a toilet paper roll. This is copper. It looks like a toilet paper. Or
it is. It's a specially finished copper that won't corrode over time.
Okay. Right. Sorry to interrupt, but that's important.
No problem.
I know the snarks online. I know these snarks online. They go, look at that. It's a paper towel. Okay.
So then there's this galvanic isolation. That's why you see the rubber isolated grommets here. Power comes in after going through all the regulation, and here's all your audio circuitry. And for further noise reduction, the front end of the phono preamp is enclosed in a copper shield box. And if you can see it in this lighting, we even provide a quasi-schematic diagram of what's going on.
Oh, cool.
So let's do a tour of it starting in the back.
Yes, let's do that. That's my starting point, what I used to date.
No comment.
No comment, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we have left and right voltage inputs on both RCA and XLR, and they're selectable individually. Then we have a current input, which is RCA or balanced, but you can only pick one.
Right.
So the unit has 3 inputs. RCA voltage input, XLR voltage input, and then either one of the current inputs. If you select the voltage input, we have a selection of 10 different loading choices that you select from the front panel, but they're actually individually relay selected internally. Or if you don't like any of those, we have RCA jacks that you can add custom loading in the back. And if you are using MM and you want some ideal capacitance, that can be put there as well. We have separate ground lugs here, one for chassis shield and then one for signal ground. So if you have a turntable that has a separate ground for motorboard versus ARM, they can attach separately for lowest noise.
Smart.
Then the output is in balanced and unbalanced. So all the signals are internally converted to balanced immediately as their input.
Now let me say one thing right here.
Yes, sir.
there are cable manufacturers who make tone arm cables that are connected. They run and the output goes like this.
Yeah.
So there's this much separation between the cables.
Right.
And those cables are not usable on a lot of phono preamps, including this one.
I agree.
So they have to change that.
Yes, they do, and they should change that.
They should. Why do that?
Right.
It's stupid. Okay.
It limits the products you can use them with.
Exactly. And it makes more sense to have things separated this way, electrically.
Right, because I mean, this really is dual mono.
Yes.
And it's bilaterally symmetrical, so the left is on the left side, the right is on the right side. We even do it with the power supply. They don't share. So if you want, I can take off the shield board if you'd like a pretty picture inside.
You think it's worth doing?
It's kind of nice. Yeah, but I have to go get the screwdriver, so you have to pause the video.
All right, let's finish this first,
okay.
And then we can do that.
Okay. So then we'll go back to the front here. And we'll work from this side. So you have gain, and it's actually 4 positions. You have 40, 50, 60, and 70 dB selectable gain.
And that's for the moving mag.
It covers the whole range.
You can use that in the current?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah, that makes. Yeah, sorry, I have one that does that too. So. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. This is your selectable loading, so it's the optional RCA jacks in the back, or 15, 30, 50, 75, 100, 500, 1K, 10K, and 47K.
And when you're running in current mode, you don't. That's not.
Right. In current mode, you get no selection of.
Just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
We are.
Next.
There is a mono button. There's a subsonic filter, which is a very gentle 6 dB per octave, designed to not affect the sonics.
So what is it? 30 hertz, 20 hertz?
It's 3 dB down at 20.
Okay, that's good.
Then you've got your input selection, and this magic little button called meter. So if you don't press that button, the meters just bounce around nicely with the signal. However, if you put them in meter mode 1, which is the first press, and you play a test record, initially we'll say the analog production is 1. You individually calibrate to our we call it point D. It's the 0 dB mark.
Right.
And in that mode, the loading becomes the left channel volume, calibration volume, and the gain becomes the right channel calibration volume.
So are you balancing the channels, or are you measuring in cross?
So what we're doing here is setting an internal reference for what in the analog productions version is minus 20 at 1 kilohertz.
Right. Okay.
Then you press into meter mode 2. This is measurement mode. And in measurement mode, the first measurement mode, you play the 10 kilohertz. Okay. Excuse me, you play the the two-tone. There's the two-tone test. I don't remember the number because we're just working this.
I don't know that one either.
And what it does is invert one channel and sums them, and you can adjust cartridge azimuth to minimum on the meters. And the reason we need to do that calibration mode initially is so that the two channels will sum all to 0 when they're perfect. Then you can put it in meter mode 2, and you play the meter mode 3. I'm sorry. And you can do the 10 kilohertz test tone, and you can use that for further refining alignment or for optimizing cartridge.
Wow, that's phenomenal! All in one box.
So it does it all in one box.
Yeah.
And you know, MoFi's a record company, so you can expect that at some point there'll be special tests that we're going to be able to do.
You're on test record.
And we have a USB port, probably the first phono preamp with a USB port, so you can software upgrade the test procedures that go on.
And is there a projected list price for this?
$5,000.
$5,000. Wow, that's really good. So for like 10 or 11,000, you get both of these, and you're in really good shape for playback records.
I think you are. Yeah.
That's great.
Approximately 10 years ago, when I did the reference tone arm, and in fact it was at Las Vegas show, people saw it, etc. And after 4 or 5 years, it was a little bit difficult to try and get all the distributors and the retailers and the end users to use the product the best way they could, and they had paid for it, so they should. And one of the problems was that they were shy of actually handling the product. So every now and then you get an email or a phone call, we want to fit this cartridge to us, can you come over and help us? And you say, okay, I'm coming in that direction. But then it went to US, Canada, in Japan, and it was just impossible to manage it. So I came up with an idea of clamping the whole system in such a way that you could mount everything, set everything, measure everything, and then just ship it. And all they need to do is put it on, get the protractor to a certain position, lock everything in place, take the clamp out, put the clip, and they go. And it worked. We had people in US, for example, they send their cartridges and we fit it, we set it, we tested it, send it back, they get it, and the dealer or the distributor, 15 minutes, is on the deck and is singing. But this went on, it was fine. And then slowly now people want to use the whole thing with a different cartridge, with a different. So I was thinking, can I make the tone arm easier to operate so no one is afraid of it? And now, and especially with the COVID period where everybody's behind the camera and a screen, so we started making videos of how you set this up, how you do this, how you do that, so it could be used everywhere. But inside of that, another thing came up. Electronics, the record players themselves, the cartridges, everything was speakers, everything was improving. So it sort of led me back to the tone arm, thinking, can we actually get a little bit more out of the groove? And we did. So I did a few modifications, I would call, but not real modifications. It was just enhancement of what was there in terms of the way the bearings were working. So it was originally optimized more in the middle, but obviously as you go to the either side, you slightly lose that optimization. So we widened that band so you're almost covering the entire record surface. The same thing with the anti-skating. You have several ways of doing anti-skating, but if you're using the one that has almost no noise, it needs to be some kind of a force that acts on a distance. And it needs to be very, very smooth. So having a 30 micron thick silicon band that doesn't alter with temperature, humidity, etc. being pulled was a good idea, but again, it's optimized at a certain point, because as you're getting closer to the end of the record, the membrane is getting more and more stretched, so the force is going up and up. So you either end up with just slightly less anti-skate at the beginning or slightly more at the end. So we added a little magnet system that towards a third of the way in, almost 2/3 in, third of the way run out, the magnet system comes in and it counteracts the sloping effect of the membrane being pulled. And things like this, adjustments of the VTA, being able to do very, very fine adjustments on azimuth, etc., so that you can optimize the tone arm easily without worrying about, oh, am I doing this right? Because you have the clamp, you clamp the whole thing, so you're not worried about damaging bearings and things. You can change the cartridge, put everything you want, put it on the record player, and then if you need slight adjustments on the VTA, you can do it. If you need slight adjustments on tracking weight, or even slightly changing the effective mass of the arm, because sometimes cartridges need a little bit heavier arms to work with. Sometimes cartridges need a little bit less heavy arms. And the flexibility was the key, and the bonus was that the whole thing actually, when we put it together, in fact the one out there is a working sample. We were listening to it just before we came here, and for sure, for us, it's definitely better than what it was. So hopefully, at some point in time, we'll be able to entertain you guys and actually play and demonstrate the thing to you. But it was just an introduction that we thought, well, we're here. After all this time, we haven't seen each other for at least 2 years. So it would be a good opportunity, and obviously with Carl and his amazing work that he does with loudspeakers, and also the Soul Note that, as Carl said, our distributors in Japan have such a high regard for the electronics, and I must admit, for me, this system was sounding absolutely amazing when we were playing around with it. So I hope when Carl does his bit, and maybe he plays something, and we carry it from there. And afterwards, if anybody has any questions from me, I'm here, not going anywhere. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what Tourage was talking about, and of course that room's packed, so it's not the easiest thing to hear, but he was talking about this sort of transit system. He gets a lot of requests from around the world, from American customers and Asian customers and so on, to set the arm up for them. Now he can now fit the cartridge, set everything up completely, and then fit this locking system, and it can be transported anywhere in the world, mounted, take the locking system off, pretty much ready to go.
Protects the bearing that way.
Yes. Yeah, and then he was talking about the I can't get the exact terminology, but there's a sort of silicon rubber
for the anti-skate.
For the anti-skate, and then there's a slight compensation here on the last third with two magnets opposing each other, so that you don't get linear anti-skate, because you don't really want linear anti-skate. No. Well, I'm glad you said that, because most people don't seem to agree too much. But anyway,
I think it's true.
Yeah, I think it's true too. Well, on this arm, you can literally adjust by where you put the string,
right?
Whether it's higher on the outside or higher on the inside, so you can play around to your heart's content.
Is that the analog relax cartridge in here?
It is, yes.
That's such a great cartridge.
It is, isn't it?
Fantastic. Okay.
This is new with this sliding counterweight, so you can use this for two things. It follows on from previous arms. You can either use it as a very fine tuner dust for tracking force,
right,
or depending on where you choose to put it, you change effective mass.
Right, and then set the tracking force elsewhere.
Well, I mean, if you decided that was the best sound for effective mass and so on, and then you wanted to change the tracking force by that much, it's not going to make any difference. Right. But it might make 1.1 of a gram or something. Right. But you do your main adjustment back here. This is gimbaled such that as the arm tracks a warped record, it changes the tracking force slightly.
Yep. It compensates for the...
Yes. So it's very much about trying to get the best from other than perfect records. You know, because it would be nice if every record was perfect.
Is this arm sold separately?
Yes.
And what does it cost?
In the UK, it's going to be £43,900. And I haven't got an American price yet. We need.
It's a costly arm.
It's always been. I mean, this is the third generation. It's always been a costly arm. It's always been an incredibly highly rated arm, loved. So, all Tourage has tried to do is, one, make it better, and secondly, make it a little more flexible. Azimuth is easier to change. VTA is fine-tune adjustable. Even when I wouldn't do it when I'm playing a record, but you could do it. So he's tried to make it easier to use and sound better, and that comes with a slight cost. But of course, we're also in worldwide inflation.
What's that?
Worldwide inflation.
Yeah.
Prices are going up everywhere. Yep. Parts are getting amazingly difficult to get.
Of course, machining is getting easier because all the machinists from the motor industry are losing their jobs to electric cars.
I think he's finding it increasingly difficult to get machining.
Really?
Yeah, at this level.
And what is that arm tube made out of?
Titanium.
Titanium, the whole tube?
Yeah.
Okay, that explains the cost. Okay. Very interesting.
Well, hopefully at some point, when I finish talking to Tiraj and Rob and everything else, we might be able to sort something out for you to play.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be really, really interesting to hear this on my system. Thank you for doing this for me, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to. It wouldn't have made any sense. Okay. Well, this is really annoying because this is the Einstein turntable from Germany. It's Volker Boltmeyer's turntable, and he's a friend of mine at this point. I've known him for decades, and there's a lot of interesting tech in this turntable, but the microphone wasn't on, and I don't remember some of the details. He's showing the pneumatic feet that are holding the thing up. He showed me those last year. And the bearing is that brass thing on the right there, which is a really beautiful bearing. But some of what he told me, I don't remember. In fact, plenty of it I don't remember. Including, you'll see in a few minutes, he's gonna remove this little puck right there. He's gonna take this thing off, and I don't remember he's pointing to something there, and I know that's what goes in there. That's damping. I don't know what it is. I can't remember, and I am sorry. I will try to ask him. Maybe he'll see this video and then he'll respond, and then I can write something about exactly what that is. But I don't remember what it is. So I'll show a little bit more of this, but he's got an interesting design here. This design's been in the works for a couple of years. And in 2019, if you go to the video of turntables of 2019 on the Analog Planet YouTube channel, you will see him describe the earlier iteration of all of this, and it wasn't playing. This year it was playing. And so, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's just do a quick, as long as we're up here, I'm waiting for a meeting with Mr. Itani from Technics. And so we're going to look at some Burmeister bling. The 216 Endverstärker. The 218 Endverstärker. And this is the 159 Mono Endverstärker. So if you didn't know what Endverstärker means, it means meat slicer. Serious. Visually, these are impressive. So we spoke a couple of years ago.
I think, but
we spoke in Japan, I believe, at the Japan audio fair, I believe.
At that time, we were talking about the R1000 turntable, right?
Right.
Yes, and after that, I think we have developed the digital amplifier with the digital phono equalizer, SUR1000, and I don't know if you have already checked our amplifier or not.
I haven't done any reviews of your electronics.
Oh really?
No, other people have done that. I haven't done that.
You have done that?
But in the future.
In the future?
In the future, I'll be able to do that.
Okay. So I think that maybe that you are aware about our what should I say the sound direction of our turntables. I mean that after the 1200G, we have developed our new direct drive turntables with the new chorus DD motor, and maybe you are aware that the sound direction of that is much different from the some belt drive or the old Technics direct drive or something.
Different in what sense?
I mean that different sound quality, the sound direction, compared to the belt drive. See,
oh, of course.
Yeah, we feel that more like more
drive.
Yeah, more dynamic and more maybe a richer some kind of microdynamics or the high SN ratio or something like that.
Sure.
So we are now chasing on that direction of the sound quality, and under such kind of the emotion, we have developed our new technology for the amplifier to enhance the sound quality of our turntable, and that is our digital phono equalizer circuit, and in our reference class integrated amplifier SU-R1000.
What I'm interested in knowing is how have sales of turntables been for you?
Turntables sales. Maybe that he can. Actually, very good. I think. Yeah.
Sales of turntables. To be honest, I think we shouldn't be shy saying that. And I can speak only for the European business.
Right.
But the biggest part of our sales is actually turntables.
I'm not surprised.
It varies between, let's say, between 65 and sometimes very, very close to 80% of the total turnover is made by turntables. This is good on the other hand because, of course, it brings money into. It means it's profitable for us, very profitable. On the other hand, our strategy in parallel is to lift up sales for the components because actually this is what many people don't know. The first Technics product ever, made in 1965, was a small speaker. And since Technics started, Technics has always been a full portfolio brand. There's so many legendary Technics products,
Right.
not only turntables,
Right. I'm old enough to remember all that stuff.
throughout the decades. Yeah, and this is what we like to bring back.
Sure.
And the engineering achievements by Mr. Itani and his awesome team of so capable engineers, especially if you look at the SUR1000, that is full of technology that no other manufacturer does. Yeah, this is a product we want to speak about. We want to make it. We want to make it seen on the market because it's so special. We do it. We're not buying Class D modules that are third-party manufactured. We have a very, very own approach of full digital amplification that we call Geno Engine, because basically we think that we are very superior in amplification if we do it in a digital way in terms of less distortion, less noise. We only accept signals in the digital domain, so that means our Geno Engine accepts signals by digital, and if signals come in analog domain, we first have to convert them.
Yeah,
this is how. This is
what resolution do you convert them?
We can convert with the biggest amplifier. We have 384 by 32 bits.
So that's like DXD.
This is currently the highest you can get.
Mr. Ritani, fess up. Anything new in the turntable?
So far, and I think that it is too early to talk about our new technologies, but actually that our engineer is keep on going develop the new technology for the
because you've kind of gone downscale somewhat in price points, and you have the SL1000R at the top.
Yes.
Is there anything in the middle that you're considering in between the two?
Between two means that the 1000 and the lower one.
Yeah, between like say the 1200G and the 1000, there's a big gap in between those two.
I think so. Yeah, that is the one capability, but so far no.
And as far as manufacturing pressures on costs, you're making these turntables not in Japan at this point.
Yes.
So elsewhere.
We are in the Malaysia.
Yeah. But you oversee the quality control, so everything.
Of course, yeah. We are doing that.
And so there's nothing forthcoming that you can tell me about. No scoops in the turntable.
I'm sorry. That's no scoops there. No.
I tried. I tried. Okay, that's good. And so anything else up here? You said the phono stage built in.
Phono stage built in, yeah.
Let's look at this right here.
Phono stage. So for the R1000, we have developed a complete new technology for the phono equalizer by the combination of the analog and the digital technology. Because our amplifier is digital, so the way, in any way we need to digitize the signal itself. But we can achieve that new technology and a new sound quality that it cannot achieve by the analog only circuit, but we can do that. So we are now call it intelligent phono EQ, that is the combination of the analog and digital. And from the signal processing side, first we have the low pass filter with the analog domain. Because maybe you know that in case of the analog, that the gain difference between the 10 Hz to the 10 kHz is more than 40 dB. That means for the digital, it means that the 7-bit or something. So the before the A to D converter, we need to flatten the level. That is a good way. So once we apply the...
You have to reverse the RAAA curve.
Of course, yeah. And you know that the combination of the low pass filter and the high shelf filter is the equalizing curve. And this high shelving is done by the digital circuit.
So to review this would really give people an idea of what high quality digitization does to an analog signal. You'd really be able to...
Yeah, so the actually that we did 92 kHz, 24-bit.
Because, you know, the purists will never accept, they don't want to hear digital analog. They want to hear analog.
Yeah.
But if you can prove to them that you can have advantages,
yes,
especially in the RAAA equalization side of it, in correcting things and making it sound better.
Yeah. So actually, by tweaking the digital circuit, we can apply not only the RAAA, but also the other 6 curves. Actually, that for that purpose, in case of the analog, there are lots of the capacitor or the resistor after the switch band. But in this case, we can do everything by the software.
Right.
So actually the analog path is very shortened compared to that one, and this is accurate EQ curve. And this is also can done by the analog only phono equalizer, but crosstalk canceller is and the response optimizer is our new proposal. And in case of the crosstalk canceller, you know that in case of the cartridge, we have one stylus for the L and R channel pickup.
Yeah.
So usually 20-something dB or the 30 dB for the...
right. If you're getting 30 or 35, you're doing really good.
Really good.
If you
Very
set
good.
it up correctly.
Yes.
Right. And what are you claiming you can get?
So that we can apply some kind of the machine learning, processing for the of the DSP and to measure the crosstalk on the cartridge. For that purpose, we have bundled the calibration record, and in the calibration record there was the white noise, only the L channel.
So it learns the cartridge.
Yes.
It learns what the cartridge is
yes.
doing, and then it corrects for the cartridge's mistakes.
Yes.
That's a very big thing.
And actually, it takes maybe 7 minutes to calculate. So we have actually that crosstalk canceller. We have applied over 4K coefficients of the each frequency band, and we need to set up the appropriate filter set
And this is built into the phono stage in the receiver.
Yes, in the amplifier, right? Yeah.
Now, could you produce this as a standalone outboard phono preamp? That might be an interesting product.
Yeah, I agree.
How about next year when I come back? You have that?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
And this is one thing. And the other thing is that response optimizer. So in the disk, we also recorded as a test tone the stretch pulse to check the frequency response. As you know that by the
but you don't. It says you don't want to change the character of the cartridge. You just want to get rid of the resonance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to turn everything into everything. You don't want to do that.
Yes, that's a good point. I think
Yeah.
So
now, is this for a moving coil and moving magnet, or just moving magnet?
Both we can do.
Both
we can. But significant improving is for the moving magnet, because you know that some kind of a big peak.
Yep. That's moving magnet.
Yeah. And this is again also do a DSP and solution, so all the software can do that. And many of the other standard phone equalizer have such kind of deep switch to change the capacitor or the resistor. But in such cases, there are many additional circuits on the very sensitive,
Sure, right. The very low voltage.
Yes, yeah, very low.
And so you can correct this in the digital domain.
Yes,
and eliminate all those.
Yes.
So then the key issue is, can the digitization be done transparently without doing any damage to the signal? So that's what I can find out when I listen.
Yeah. So please check what the R1000.
And this is in your which model amplifier is this?
SUR1000.
SUR1000.
Yes, R1000. Our reference class integrated amplifier.
And what does that cost? Do you know what that costs?
R1000.
The R1000 is in euros 7,500.
And that's including a full function integrated amplifier with a phono stage in it, is what that is.
It is, and as Mr. Itani explained, it is a full digital amplifier.
Right.
However, as he has explained, it is actually, and this seems like paradox, it is actually beneficial to perform
the EQ in the digital domain.
EQ and other functions that are traditionally analog in the digital domain, because we think we can do that much more precisely than actually by in an analog approach that needs many
resistors
parts.
and capacitors.
Resistors,
Sure.
capacitors.
I think most people watching this understand all those issues. Their issue will be in this high resolution digital. Will they hear "quote unquote" digital? That's what they need to know. So that's what I'll try to find out when I review this.
The thing is, most of the people that have reviewed this amplifier have been asking for a separate component of phono.
That's what I just did. That's what I just asked them. Of course they are.
Separate taken out of the
Of course they are. So I'm giving them 3 weeks to come up with it. Can you do that? No? Okay, 3 months? All right. Well, whenever that will be a really interesting product in and of itself.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be the real test for a lot of people, of whether they can digitize their analog and get the benefits of the software-based RAAA and everything else that you're doing without losing any quality. That's the real test. Double-blind testing will be required.
To be honest, we've been discussing since some time internal, and we're checking the return on investment.
Wouldn't it be fun to have like a listening test at a consumer show as opposed to a show like that, a real consumer show, and sit people down and not tell them which is which, and play a record and say, which do you prefer? Let them, make sure the levels are the same, and then say one of these is a digitized analog signal where all the correction is being done in the digital domain, and one is a really high quality all analog setup, and not tell them which is which and say, which do you prefer? And that's really the best way to convince the diehard. And I'm one of the diehards. You have to really convince me, but It's possible, I'm sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Well, this is pretty snazzy looking. This is the 1200 M7L 50th anniversary limited edition. Different color.